Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Morning Meta. I am yours truly, Travis Spencer.
I'm Camilla Crawley.
Camilla, it is Thursday, community conversation.
Yes, it
Mm,
is. And I'm going to get things going this morning with a grounding practice.
okay, all right.
Mhm. All right, everyone, welcome. And you know what to do. Find yourself that comfortable position if it's possible for you. We're going to ground in the body by focusing on our hands today. As we said earlier in the week, this is National Mental Health Awareness Month. And sometimes when the mind is going and going and going, it can be challenging to settle it down.
Mm,
And sometimes going into the body can help calm the mind and quiet the mind. So let's take our hands, if this is possible for you, and if your hands is not something that is accessible for you, you can focus on the feet or another part of the body. Let's focus in on our hands. And what we're going to do is we're going to just feel our hands. So rubbing one palm and the other, just noticing what our hands feel like. How often do we do that? We're typing, we're typing on the computer, on the phone, opening doors, doing all types of things with our hands. So just notice your hands right now.
mhm.
So does your skin feel rough? Does it feel soft? Maybe some people have some moisturizer on. So I just want you to just take time just to notice the hands.
Mm.
Okay. Now that you've noticed the hands, I'm going to invite you to take your hands now and gently squeeze them into fist and then release the hands out. So now we're getting into how we can resource ourselves. So squeezing in and releasing out. And then the last time, let's breathe with that. As you squeeze your hands into a fist, inhale and exhale as you open the fist out. All right, take the hands, gently allow them to land in the lap. And so that's it. We're going to keep it simple. The mind is going, maybe it might be, you know what? My hands are right here. Let me just focus in on that.
Yes, I'm feeling that. I'm really enjoying just doing the massaging of the hands. I do it quite often anyway, but
Mhm.
so I like it. All right, good people. So now we're going to do setting our intention for today. So the invitation is to use the following sentence stem. My intention for today is to, and then you can add whatever you would like to add. So let's begin. My intention for today is to, all right. Now the invitation is to release that intention and move in a way that supports realizing that intention, but not holding on so tightly that it becomes a distraction or it becomes harmful.
Yeah. hmm My intention for today, I was
Mhm.
thinking about that. I'm a list person. And so today I was thinking about really looking at what is immediate because I
Mhm.
tend to do lists and they're really long because I'm thinking about 3 days from now and next week. And so that's my intention for today. Just really narrowing in on what's most immediate that
Mm,
needs my attention.
I'm feeling that. Yeah. So good people, share in the comments. What is your intention for today?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So we have our centering thought today. And let's see. This centering thought says, to control a people, you must first control what they think about themselves and how they regard their history and culture. And when your conqueror makes you ashamed of your culture and your history, he needs no prison walls and no chains to hold you.
Mm,
Yeah. Again, that centering thought is to control a people, you must first control what they think about themselves and how they regard their history and culture. And when your conqueror makes you ashamed of your culture and history, he needs no prison walls and no chains to hold you. And this is a quote by the ancestor John Henrik Clark.
Mm,
That's powerful.
yes, yes. And I think that's a wonderful lead off into our community conversation,
Hmm.
right? I believe that in our community, in the African American community, there is a true need for healing. And that healing involves remembering and bringing back our culture, and being proud of who we are before enslavement, before 1619. We are the first people on this planet. All civilization comes from Africa. So when we begin to remember who we are, where we from, we can begin to build from that place. And so our healing, it comes from that. So we've been under oppression for over 400 years now. So the idea is that let's free ourselves. Let's free our own minds. Let's think for ourselves, and let's begin to move in a way that we pass that free thinking on. We pass this sense of revolution and rebellion, because without rebellion, there is no revolution. So we pass that on to our children. And the beautiful thing is that it happens automatically if you truly heal. So we're not just talking about healing from a cut or even just an emotional wound. What we're talking about is holistic healing, healing the whole self. So that includes culture, that includes religion, that includes many of the facets that we don't think about when we think about healing. The way that we look at money and how we're moving in our lives, the way that we interact with one another, being able to trust and be honest with one another. All of that is a part of healing.
Wow. This is a really powerful quote. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the parts of the quote where John Henrik Clark is talking about feeling ashamed about
Mm,
your culture and your history. And what you talked about is a really important piece of that healing, I think. First, coming into the awareness that the information is out there.
mhm,
So this particular quote was by John Henrik Clark. I mean, if you now, because everything is wide open with the internet, you can find just about anything.
mhm,
And so even just taking that name, John Henrik Clark, and Googling it, now you can see videos of some of the places where he spoke and interviews that he had. The
mhm,
knowledge is here. I think that's something that people could really benefit from, understanding that um, everything we need is already here. We just have to go out and seek it.
mhm,
So when we talk about the books that are available, the things on YouTube with the clips, we can start to get more insights and glimpses of our history before enslavement. Because it's really important to remember that our story doesn't begin with enslavement.
mhm,
It begins with the first civilization of quote unquote Homo sapiens on this planet. And so there's thousands, that's the thing. There's thousands of years of history and information and culture that
mhm,
exists before
mhm.
enslavement in 1619. So we
Yeah.
can start to just seek that out as a
Mhm,
part of the healing. I think that it's challenging because there has been so many years where we have sort of assimilated
mhm,
to what we think it means to be, Black or African American or whatever. So it can be, I think, maybe a little confusing. I
mhm,
know in clinical terms they always use like cognitive dissonance, but
mhm,
sometimes it can be confusing when all your life or for hundreds of years you've been told that this is who you are, these are
mhm,
all the aspects of your culture, and then to see and read things that are sometimes the complete opposite is kind of be like, wait, what's going on here? But I think that there is an inner knowing,
mhm,
even in the confusion, even in maybe the habits and things that we have, there still is that inner knowing, just like with this particular practice of mindfulness.
Hmm.
So there's a label on it right now, but there's people right now who can go back and think about, oh, well, my grandmother used to do, um, crocheting and knitting, or my grandmother used to just go sit on the porch in silence, or all these little things are signs of mindful practices, but that's not what they were called. So
Hmm.
similarly now, when it comes to our history, I think again, we'll start to see where those bridges start to come together, where the
Hmm.
bridge is.
Hmm.
So we might feel like, oh well, I don't know anything about Africa. I don't have, I don't know any family members in Africa, so I'm just here with it. But when you start to really look at your own maybe family history, your
Hmm.
history, and start the reading and the research clips, all those things, and you start to make the connections like, wow, okay, that same thing that my great grandfather used to do,
Hmm.
now I'm seeing how it connects back to something I read about like thousands of years ago on the continent. you know
Absolutely. Yeah. I love what you're saying. I think that I say this quite often. This is about Sankofa. This is about going back and getting it. And the thing is that it is inside of us. It is in our DNA. You know, just as well as we have the rhythm to dance and
mm-hmm.
move in the ways that we do. That is just evidence of
Yeah,
what is in our
yeah,
DNA. It's like seeing an iceberg. You see the little peak above the water, right? But below the surface is the iceberg itself. So the mindfulness, and this is one of the things that I think that is so important for us to understand, is that mindfulness supports us in learning how to get into to go into ourselves and to be present, because your intuition, that knowledge that your ancestors have accumulated over generations, over lifetimes, is all of it is within you. So when you are present and you are in the flow of your life, you will get signals from nature. You will get signals internally and externally to support you as you move through life. We've been we've been fooled to believe that it's all about that, what they call it, the so-called American dream,
mm-hmm.
that it's all about buying a house, it's all about accumulating all of this wealth. And in the grand scheme of things, that is a part of it, but it isn't the end all be all. We've forgotten how to just be with life, how to just be in community, how to be open with one another. We've forgotten. But the thing is that it's right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
I often say that it's like a fog, that when you don't have knowledge of self, you are in a fog. But as soon as you begin to know yourself, that fog burns off. And once it burns off, you see community, you see the pathway to happiness, to wealth, to all of those things. And you see yourself, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that stillness supports you in seeing yourself.
Absolutely. And I like where you're going with this, because um, knowledge of self
Hmm.
is not just knowledge of the history.
Hmm.
So I think it's really important to learn about not only African American history, but African history as well,
Yes.
because there is a very clear connection. And the example of, the rhythm, musicality, dancing, that is just one of the most clearest, to me, examples of our connection to
Hmm.
the continent. Watching how there's just a naturalness to it all. But again, back to knowledge of self, this practice, to your point, it's about that part of knowledge of self too. So knowing your history, knowing as much about your lineage as possible, and then also knowledge of self in terms of knowledge of what's going on inside of you. So what are you thinking
Hmm.
on a daily basis, right? Are the thoughts repeating? Are these thoughts judged around positive, negative? What are you feeling? So what are the emotions? Again, always looking at, just noticing patterns and things like that. Then on the physical level, what am I putting into my body? Noticing that. What am I feeding myself? So that spiritual, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and then also social. Because remember, there's some people say 8, and then others say there's 9 dimensions of wellness. So when you break all those down, your social, your occupational, your financial, and you start to just notice, I didn't say fix or do anything, just notice. You start to see in different parts of those dimensions, oh, some patterns there. Some patterns there. That's also about knowledge of self as well. Because once you have that knowledge of self, I believe then you come out of that fog and you can clearly see your choices and the choices that you want to make that'll be beneficial to you, that'll be wise for you, that'll be healthy choices for you. And so, like this quote says, when we're in that fog and we're ashamed, then all of that becomes much more narrow. You know, we're not able to expand and see out because even with our history, a lot of it is so focused on the enslavement aspect. A lot of it is focused on when the aspects of like African spirituality and things are brought up. That aspect too is a lot of it is focused on the shaming of it, the demonizing of it as well. And so if that is going on constantly, then it can be challenging to see that there's there's an additional side to that. So to what we've been told, the narrative that we're being told. So it's really important to expand the mind out and see that did happen in history. Enslavement happened, but look at everything that came out of that from our ancestors. Food, music,
Yes.
our natural resilience. I mean, because we've been through a lot of stuff, and if we think about what's happening right now in terms of our society politically, what's going on with the environment, it makes me feel like our ancestors have put in our DNA that resilience. Like they've been here, they've done it, they've also given that same resilience and determination to us. So I know we're going to be all right. Things are going to continue to get chaotic at times and stuff like that, but understanding that we need to choose and decide for ourselves what we want to prop up as our culture, and we need to tell our own story when it comes to history. And that's what I'm getting also from John Henrik Clarke. This quote to me is really about taking ownership of that. So what they've said all these things over the years. My research, what I've read, what I've seen on clips and things like that says otherwise, and I get to decide that is the story that I'm going to tell, or the aspects of the culture that I'm going to bring forward.
Absolutely. I think the last thing I would say as I wrap up what I'm thinking is becoming aware of those patterns that you spoke about. The invitation is that for you to really just begin to notice, like the emotions that are arising, just notice them, cultivate that awareness. And once you are aware of your patterns and how they affect your behavior, then begin to come up with a plan to counter those emotions, to counter it in a way that supports you. So it's not fighting them.
Right.
It's being aware, pausing, stopping. And we use an acronym for STOP. And STOP is the S stands for just to stop, take a breath, or take 3 breaths, I like to say, and then observe how you're feeling, what you're thinking, the behavior, your urge, all of that, observe, and then proceed, making sure you stay in alignment with your values. Now, we're saying all of this because there's a lot of maladaptive behavior patterns that we see in our culture, in our society, and with ourselves that we have to begin to cultivate awareness of. Because if we're going to move out of oppression, and if we're going to prepare a world for our children to thrive in, then we have to take the time to stop, assess, and then make a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to do it as a community.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last thing, this is truly the last thing. Not everybody is going to go. Not everybody is going to want to do this type of work, because it's hard work is work, you know, but it's the most rewarding work that you can do if you've lived in an oppressive society. It's that hard work.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, I think I'm done, but I have this question for you. What does hard work mean to you?
Hard work means, to me, it's the work of going inward.
Mm.
And I now, through my own experience and just learning from others, I'm aware that it takes courage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really takes courage because, again, depending on where you are in your life, you are used to certain patterns. You're used to doing things a certain way. So to get to a point where you either may realize that, okay, this stuff is not working any longer,
Mm-hmm.
and you know you have to do something different, but you don't really know what it is, that's one thing. And then there's the other instance where you have these patterns and habits, and you're at the point where you're starting to realize they are not working any longer because you're suffering, and you just really want to do something else. And now you're willing to be open to it. Still, to take that step, that first step,
Mm-hmm.
it takes courage, because you don't know what's going to happen after that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in the world could tell you, oh, it's going to be great. Just do this and get on the other side. And it all sounds good, but you don't know what's waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes courage to take that step, to go inward, and to really lean into your power. And your power comes through, in my opinion, it comes through your awareness of what's going on. Then it comes through the choices that you can make. No one else can do that part. That's why it's so powerful. You're the only one that can really make the choices for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what hard work is to me. And I think that what you were saying about changing patterns and doing that work, what I want to say is that it's possible, again, because we've been talking about this quote around history and culture.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's possible because the people that have come before us, they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it, yes, out of survival. Now we don't have those exact same elements present, but the fact that they did it, they somehow these people figured out a way, to your point, to do their own form of stopping and pausing,
Mm-hmm.
and calming, and then observing and noticing and proceeding. Because if they hadn't done those things, they wouldn't have survived.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have survived. So I say that again to encourage and remind everyone that we got this.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it.
Mm-hmm.
We are here because people before us have done these very things that we're talking about.
Yes, yes. And I think that's a mic drop. We're going to let it go right there, right there.
I know, before we get into the next thing, and then
Mhm.
there's another 5 minutes, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
All right. So let's do our call to action.
All right. So the call to action today is, let's see if you can bring into your day the practice from the grounding this morning, if you like. So again, at any point when the mind seems to be just taking you all over the place, gently shift to your body, any part of the body, and just keep that focus there. It could be for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and allow that to slowly and gradually calm that mind down through the body. The other thing that I was thinking about in terms of our conversation is, call to action is also look something up today,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of our history. We have a quote here from John Henrik Clarke. Maybe look him up today, look at some of his clips on YouTube, read some of his books. Any name or something that you can think of as a call to action to look up?
Dr. Cress Wilson.
Ah, yes, yes.
Dr. Jerome Fox. Yes,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah, I love that. So that's our call to action. As always, go inward. Could be through the breath in the body, and also do some research on
Mhm.
our culture, on our history.
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
All right. So we are beginning each day. Oh, well, I'm forgetting. Like and subscribe,
Oh
good people.
yes.
Yeah, I don't want to forget that. So I want to invite you to share this conversation with someone that you can believe will benefit from this conversation. And maybe you guys can add on to the conversation in the comments
Yeah.
or have a discussion amongst yourself once you've listened to the full conversation. Because I think we've touched on some rich points around healing for the Black community.
Mm,
Anything else?
definitely. I think that's it.
All right.
Right.
So we're going to start each day grounded, intentional, and connected. Ashe.
Ashe.